Test. All right, okay, there we go. I'll have Bruce get the music cut, and then we'll get that going here in just 1 second. All right, perfect. Welcome, guys. My name's Richard Stock. How many of you is this your first time coming down to the office to one of the events and stuff that we have? So without any further ado, help me bring up the guy to show the information tonight, Mr. Jared Brensley. Jared?
So I have some good news and bad news. It's what my second grade teacher told me when I was 8. That's the age for second grade, right? So before she told me that phrase, who here has ever had a childhood crush when you were like in middle school or whatever? Her name was Kelly. I don't remember her last name, but I was like, oh, she's so pretty, and I didn't understand anything. I was 8, but she was so pretty. I had a crush on her, and I thought I was going to impress her. I was going to lift the desk over my head to show her how strong I was. I wasn't that strong. Newsflash. So I tried to, and I knocked over this teacher. She had like this bean jar thing they were supposed to count, and I was a very high energy kid, to say the least. So I tried to lift up the desk to impress my crush, and knocked over this jar. And what do you think happened?
She fell in love.
Shattered.
She just loved me so much.
Just shattered.
Just shattered. And I had and this wasn't a surprise, like, oh, Jared's he's active. No. This is a very constant kind of thing. I had they diagnosed me with learning disability, and it was my teacher told me, she looked me dead in the eyes, and I was 8 years old, mind you. This is Jared. I have some good news and bad news for you. The good news is I know you like hamburgers. I'm like, well, that's right. The bad news is you're going to be flipping them for the rest of your life. So that's what she told me. She said that's all I was going to amount to was just flipping burgers. So what happened 10 years later, or more than that, when I was 23, I got a job at Walmart. I worked there for 12 years because that's what I thought I was worth. I didn't understand I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know there's other options for me. I didn't know there was other ways of providing for myself, providing for my family. Even though I still, I have no ill will against Walmart by any means. But before I continue that story, so can I ask you guys a question? Is that okay? Good, because I just did, so that's good. Okay, what do you guys hope to learn here? Why did you guys show up? Can we raise a hand and let's who's the brave person that can actually speak up?
Bro, off-market deals, because MLS.
Off-market deals.
MLS is
Yes.
premium prices that I do not want to pay as an investor.
Okay, so off-market deals. How to find off-market deals. Okay, what else? What else are we trying to learn? What else are we here? That it. I love it. It's good though. Yes, Tony.
Learn how to understand comps.
So you want to learn to do comps like that. Okay, cool. So if you were able to find off-market properties, how would that help you?
That means I never got to go on MLS ever again and pay more than what everybody else is paying.
So if you're paying less when everyone else is paying, what does that mean for you?
That makes more money.
You'll make more money. Oh, weird. Okay. Yeah. So if you're making more money, on a transaction, what does it do for you?
Happier.
Happier. Okay. Right. Now I don't know if you guys are like me when there's a lot of money in the bank account, my stress level goes way down. When there's little money in the bank account, stress level goes way up. So I can relate when say happier, like on a personal level, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So what's stopping us right now?
Lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge? Okay, cool. Well, I have some good news and bad news for you guys. The good news, you all got here safe and sound, thank goodness, right? There was an accident out there. You guys are here safe and sound. The bad news is that you guys passed probably 3 or 4 deals on the way here. You just didn't know it. So it's all about the knowledge, right? It's all about the knowledge why people pay a premium price on the MLS to find their deals for whatever the transaction they want to do. Like, it's not just for wholesaling, but what kind of transactions do you guys want to do? What would be something you want to learn more of or do more of?
Fix it, bro.
Fixing and flips, okay? Yeah. Multifamily, I like that. What else?
Wholesale.
Wholesaling, my man. What? Buy and hold. Okay. What else?
Rent to own.
Rent to own. Okay. Yes. So it's like seller financing, lease options. I like it. I like it.
College rentals.
College rentals. That's good, brave man over there. Yes, sir. Short-term rentals. HELOC. Okay, yeah, how to capitalize on equity you have in your property, right? Absolutely. What other strategies?
Burr method.
Burr method. Rentals, get your money back out. Rinse and repeat. Love it. House hacking. Buy a fourplex, live in one unit. The renters pay for your mortgage. That's pretty good. So if you're able to find those transactions, would that be helpful? Right? Okay, so what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about different ways of finding off-market properties. Okay, we're going to go over it and we're going to touch even a little bit of some seller financing stuff, some really cool stuff. But before we get to the nitty-gritty, I'm not a licensed anything. I used to have my license, I was a licensed agent for like 2 years, but I only got my license so I can list my own properties. But there's so many places where you spend like $500 and you can list your properties, so it didn't make much sense for me holding my license. So I'm not licensed anything, I'm not a licensed attorney. If you are looking for any type of licensed professional, go to Google and then enter real estate attorney, enter real estate agent, and then you find lots of options. Even go to ChatGPT now, finds a lot of people that way.
Still don't trust it.
Is that clear? Is that cool? I'm just what'd you say?
Still don't trust
You
it.
still don't trust it? My daughter, at the time, she was like that small, and I came home from work at Walmart, and she's holding this little thing around like a little ball. I was like, was that your doll? Did you give your doll a bath? And then that little doll moved. I'm like, oh God! Scared. I had her in my pants. But anyways, we gotta go out. He's on my line. He's just there. Anyways, so when I was working at Walmart, I was working 60 hours a week. Who here's worked retail before, by the way, or restaurant business? I know some of the. I worked for these guys over here. I was their bosses one time. No.
I'm sorry.
Anyways, so we all worked at Walmart, worked in retail or restaurant industry, let's understand. So when it's holiday time, where do they want you to be? There, exactly, right? So every single holiday, Christmas, and I was like, yes sir, you want me to work overnights for Christmas? Yep, got it, I'm there. You want me to do what? Yeah, absolutely, let's do it. And I was like the go-to guy to just do that. Gotcha. Okay, no worries.
Sir, yes, sir, let's go off to war.
Sir, yes, sir. I had hair before. It kept falling off. I was just running and walking. I walked so much in Walmart, I broke my foot. I didn't miss a single day. It's a march. I'm dead serious. I got a march when I worked overnight. I got a marching fracture. I was walking so much that I literally fractured my foot. It was funny. Anyways, my wife didn't think it was funny. So I missed a whole lot of these two kids of their growing up. I missed a lot of the Christmases, dance recitals, everything. So when my wife got pregnant with this, was the third one, it was an 8-year gap. I knew something had to change. I didn't know what, I just knew something had to change. And then this guy right here, he came to me during church and was like, hey, come learn how to pay off your house quicker. And I was like, I don't know. But my wife came and heard him, and she's like, I want to go. So what did that mean? For married guys out there. You're going. See, smart man. How you guys been married? How long have you been married?
39 years.
39 years. There's a reason why. Okay. So where was I going with this? Oh yeah, sorry. So we went to this Thursday meeting, scatterbrain. You'd see why the teacher was upset. Squirrel moment.
ADHD.
So I didn't want to go, but my wife wanted to go with them today. So I was like, fine, we'll go. That's fine. And the dude in front of me, the guy got a beer too, so that's her beer. Not so totally small. But the guy who's doing this really annoying thing. You ever been with a speaker and just do this constant annoying thing that just drives you nuts? Do you know what it was that he was doing really this annoying? He kept on making sense. And it's really frustrating because I didn't want to do any changes. He kept on making sense. And so as he was talking, I was like, okay, this is making more sense. Like I can sure take some money to real estate, but it's not to be my money. Okay, cool. I could use my credit, but I don't have to. Like, that's great, because my credit wasn't great, and I didn't have a ton of money. So me and my wife, we got started. 6 months in, we did our fourplex, we did some fix and flips, and I called in my boss, and I looked him dead in the eye. I said, Sean, you're fired. I said, Jared, you can't fire me. I'm your boss. Well, you're fired to be my boss, is what I told him. And I gave him my 2 weeks, and everyone back. And so I've been having a lot of fun helping other people out of challenging situations, finding through off-market properties, like buying their headaches has been a really fun thing I've been able to do. And it's not like, because I'm smart, I'm a really good parakeet. I learned something from people that taught me, and I just did that same thing. So you don't have to be smart to make money, guys. Trust me. Okay, so we're gonna go over, there's kind of a scale. There's a lot of different strategies of financing off-market properties. And you're gonna look at your personal life and your scenario you're looking. Not everyone has a lot of time. And not everyone has a lot of money, or maybe there's somewhere in the middle. So there's some strategies that you can just throw money at it and it doesn't cost you any time and you can still find those deals. There are strategies where it's like, I gotta go knock on doors, I gotta do this and this, it's gonna take me a lot of time, but I don't have to, I'm basically just putting my sweat equity into it. So you gotta find out where are you on that scale as far as like your time and money and where that fits in. When I first started this, I probably had, because I was working 60 hours a week at Walmart because I was salary, and I was going to school full time. I was trying to be a psychiatrist. That didn't work out, thank goodness. But it was 18 credit hours, so I had like 30 minutes a day. So I didn't have much of either one of those two, but I had to be creative. So we'll talk about some good stuff, how to find deals and all this stuff. Does this make sense? Okay. With so many ways, has anybody seen people like this, like in the circus, they're doing plates? What do they do?
Spin and
Spin?
pretty much like bounce them up in the air and all that.
They balance, right? Okay. So they start with, do they get 5 plates and do it all at once?
They start with one and slowly go
They
up.
start with one, what?
Slowly start going up.
Exactly. So there's so many different ways of finding deals, and there's not really a wrong way, right? As long as you're honest and ethical, there's not really a wrong way. So you choose a path that kind of fits into your time and money scale, and you just focus on it, make that one funnel work. And then once that starts making money, then you get another plate, another funnel, and start doing that. So you want to have, if you really want to, start the business going to roll, you want multiple funnels coming in. Okay, cool. That didn't come through very well, does it? So one of the easiest way to start is talking to real estate agents. Now I know this is like finding off-market deals, so why would I want to talk to real estate agents? Can anybody guess? They know what the deals, what was that, over here?
They won't want to let you know because they want to sell it, they want the money off of it.
Well, yeah, they want a commission, right? And sure, absolutely. So real estate agents, they have something that's called pocket listings. And Utah's a little bit more sticky. Utah really hates wholesalers in general, and just pocket lists in general, but it's still doable. So an agent, a lot of times, they'll get a lead, and then there's like a fixer upper. And before they even list it, a lot of times they'll like, hey Andres, I know you're looking for a flip over here. Take a look at this. We're putting the market tomorrow, but if you want to put an offer now, you can. So before anyone knows, so you can get like what's called a pocket listing from these agents, and so they can actually give you some more leads. And they're working it, that's fine. Like if someone's putting work, throwing me deals, I'll pay you handsomely, of course. So it's a great starting point. There are a variety of agents, by the way. So there are more agents, active agents, than there are listings in Utah. And I think it's pretty close across the country, if I'm not mistaken. So there are a lot of agents, and they want your business. And you want to make sure you qualify them too. We'll talk about kind of questions. But, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, just clear myself.
Oh, okay. No, now you have to ask a question now. No, it's kidding. So yeah, so agents are phenomenal if you find the right ones, because there's a lot of agents that are just amazing. Who's an agent here? Are you still an agent? Is Dave over here? You're an agent? So there's some amazing agents that are phenomenal at just retail. Like, you guys want to buy a house? Great, let's get you pre-qualified. I'm going to show you your dream home, and we're going to, and they work their magic, and great for them, thank goodness for them. A lot of agents hate working with investors. Not all of them, but there's a lot of them that don't like it, or they don't know how to do it correctly, right? So you want to make sure you interview. We'll talk about what questions to ask agents here in a minute. You have to interview them, and to find the right ones, not just one, you want multiples. We're not married yet, guys. We need not just one agent. So we never want to sign an exclusive agreement. Hey Dave, what's an exclusive agreement with an agent? What does that mean?
You're stuck with him.
You're stuck with him.
Yep.
You're married.
Yeah.
You're married, like anywhere from 90 days or whatever the agreement is. So if I sign an exclusive agreement with Dave over here, because he's an agent, that means if I find an off-market property, or maybe we have Manuel over here, this other agent, he throws me a deal, I still got to pay Dave his commission, whether he helped me find the deal or not. Now, most agents, I mean, if they didn't help you, they're not gonna, you know, push it, but they would still have the right, you can sue me for that commission if you wanted to, right? So never sign an exclusive agreement. We can sign just like an agreement for that one listing that they're helping you find, if they wanted an agreement, which is totally fine. Does that make sense? So don't get married. That's my advice for today. Okay? So you want to qualify, and do you guys want to know some questions to ask agents to see find a good one? Okay, let's see here. One thing I want you to understand that you guys are the prize. So us as investors, I'll put it in there because it's the shadows. Us as investors, what's the cool thing about working with investors as an agent? If I'm doing a flip, so Manuel over here, he finds me a deal, he lists it, I'm going to give him his 3%, and then if I'm doing the flip, I'm going to sell it again. What agent am I probably going to use? I'm going to use this guy again. So he's going to get the 3% when I buy it low, and then he's going to get 3% when I fix it up and sell it at top market, top value. So a lot of agents seeing that, they're like, oh yeah, I love people like Jared. Even if he's bald, I still love him, it's great. Right? So here's questions you want to ask agents. I want to deal with agents that are doing, or at least have done what I'm doing. So if got agents like, if I'm wanting to fix and flips, I want an agent that's done 20 fix and flips this last year. Or at least 5 or something, so they understand the numbers, they understand what it's like to be there in the grind. Because God bless their hearts, intentionally or non-intentionally, so a lot of agents like to be the hero, right? So they can say, oh yeah, I think you can sell this property for additional $100,000. And that's may or may not be true. Does that make sense? So like, yeah, this is a great deal, I'm gonna close on it. So yeah, so you wanna make sure they understand exactly what you're doing. So a great question I like to ask is like, do you invest in real estate yourself? No, okay, cool. Bye, next. Have you ever worked with a wholesaler before? Now that's a great question whether you are a wholesaler or aren't. Because then they'll at least, if they work with a wholesaler, they understand the whole process of like assignable. So if you're buying another property, they can help you walk through the process if you're buying from a wholesaler too. But have you worked with investors before? And also another question I like to ask them, like, do they like it? So do you work with investors? Yeah, we have in the past. Yeah, did you like it? No. I can tell you that. But you don't want to be like, you want their excitement, right? It's like, oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. Right? I got Mike, I throw him deals all the time. And he gives me great commissions. I love him. He's a great guy. Okay? How often do you come across distressed properties? Why would that be good? Why would that be a good question? Yeah. Do they even come across it? Like, if I'm trying to get a pocket listing, if I'm trying to help them find me a deal, if I'm looking for discounted properties, it's usually distressed. It's usually kind of, it's outdated. It has a lot of like just, whether that's meth, mold, anything like that, that can be distressed properties. So I was like, oh yeah, I mean, my brokerage comes across them like at least once a month, or at least once a week, once every day. Great, those are even better. Have you ever done a deal with seller financing? Why would I care if an agent has done a deal with seller financing before? What is seller financing? Someone can tell me in 10 seconds what seller financing is. Someone may not know.
Working with a direct seller.
Working with a direct seller, how do you mean?
So they're basically the bank.
So
right?
how'd that work?
They own
You're-
their house, right?
So they own the house in straight up seller financing, they own the house outright, right?
Yeah.
And so instead of making the payments to the bank, I'm making payments to who?
So owner.
To the owner, or to the seller. Now, I mean, once I start buying, it's not gonna be my property, right? Yeah, so
Rent to own.
rent to own, so that's like more of a lease option.
That's what I'm saying, it's kind of like that.
Sure, yeah, when you say seller financing, there's many different strategies of seller financing. But so a lease option would be like the rent to own thing. Yeah.
Can you go into detail like when they like have like balloons with the seller financing too?
So with anything with balloons it's amortized, so the payments are as if it's like a 30 years, so it's like a 30-year loan, but at a certain period, you have to owe everything else. So if there's like a 5-year balloon on your mortgage, you're making payments as it's 30, but when it hits year 5, there's a balloon payment, which means you gotta either refinance, pay back, sell, whatever you gotta do to pay off the remainder, whatever's owed on the contract. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that doesn't.
Yeah, so a balloon is very, very common for seller financing. It's a great way to get in there. Okay? So why would I care if if they understand what seller financing? Because what happens in a deal, so if I have my agent, right, so let's say Mike had his license, and he's dealing with Dave over here, what kind of happens? It's kind of like the telephone game, you guys remember when you're kids? You say one thing to Mike, and then Mike says something to this, and he says something else to the... So if Mike doesn't quite understand the concept of creative financing, and I'm trying to find deals that are creative financing, because I don't want to use my money or credit, if he doesn't quite understand it, how well is he going to explain that to Dave over here?
Not very well.
Not very well, right? Now you can educate your guy, that's fine, but it's still going to be, you want someone that's actually done it, so they can say, oh yeah, so they can have that first-hand experience when explaining it to Dave. Because if Dave doesn't have a good buy-in, do you think he's going to suggest that his people he's representing actually do that, even if they're going to make more money? Probably not. Because if he doesn't understand it, it's like better not, too risky, I don't know. When people don't understand something, it causes fear, right? So understanding, having them actually know, understand seller financing, and would you be open to listing my property too? That's kind of a silly question. What do you think they're going to say? Well, I guess if I had to. No. Right, but why would I say that though? Why would I ask that question?
They can see you surprised even more.
Exactly. So if I have an investor, like Luis over here is an investor, and I'm an agent, like, oh man, I can double dip, just like I was saying earlier before. And by the way, and some other investors may not agree with me, but for me, I'm paying agents, and I'm working with an agent, a lot of times you can negotiate down, hey, I'm gonna send you a lot of business, you're not gonna just do one house with me, you're gonna do like 5 a year at least. What kind of discount can you give me on your commission? Me personally, if Luis is bringing me a bunch of deals consistently, I'm gonna pay him the full 3%. And when I list it, I'm gonna pay him the full 3%. I'm not gonna try to negotiate. Because the best way to motivate people is to compensate people. So if I can pay Luis 6% total, this is gonna be, whatever the percentage is, right? If I can pay him a full commission, love it, awesome, let's do it. Especially when you're buying, because you don't normally pay for the buying time anyways. Make sense? Yeah, Mike.
And the part of it, the agent knowing about seller financing, sometimes I've worked with agents that they don't know how to explain it, so they tell the seller, hey, would you like to sell your house in payments? Instead of being, hey, would you like to make your investment portfolio better, get cash flow and investment property, you'll get money for a month. And sometimes we just want to talk to the seller directly versus the agent.
So what you're saying is how you say things are important.
How you word things, yeah.
So if I had a seller that wanted to sell their house for $300,000, and is worth maybe $250,000. If I said to the seller, hey, would you take like close to $400,000? What do you think he was going to say?
No.
No? What? Okay, so it's worth $250,000. He wants $300,000. I'm saying, would you take $400,000?
Like, no, you're trying to trick me somehow.
Yeah, right. They're gonna say like, what?
Where's the catch?
Exactly. So yeah, my people like raise eyebrows at that little statement there. Like, great, we're just gonna do it in payments. And because you're gonna, those banks. Have you ever seen the mortgage when at the end you're paying like $300,000 extra in payments? Would you love to do that to me? So I'm gonna make payments to you, and you're gonna charge me interest. So by the time we're all said and done, you're making an extra $100,000 or whatever the math says. So even though how you say things, that's just like a fraction of what's just a little tidbit. But if your agent doesn't understand that, it's gonna be hard for Mike to convince Dave it's a great idea, to convince their seller that's a great idea. Another great way when you're talking to agents is, especially in creative financing, is say, don't worry, my down payment will be big enough for all commissions. Don't worry, my down payment will be big enough for all commissions. Because do you think agents worry about that? Are they doing it for free? Would you sell my house for free?
No.
Probably not, right?
No.
And why would they? Of course not, right? So if you just say that phrase, and like, oh, okay, now I know I'm getting paid, I'm going to be more likely, and that my seller's going to make more money, I'm more likely to kind of like point to this direction. Any other questions? No? Okay. Oh, this is fun. Okay. Another great way is courthouse. So the courthouse is phenomenal. By the way, you guys, congratulations, you're in Utah. Utah is and I've searched other, because we have an app, and so I know this for a fact. In my humble opinion, I said fact and opinion. But in my opinion, Utah is one of the easiest states to look up this information. So looking up the court cases and actually who owns properties with little to no cost. So I can look up probates, tax liens, evictions, divorces, bankruptcy, foreclosure, meth condemned properties, easier than almost any other state, and find who owns those easier than the state. So Utah's phenomenal for stuff like this. We'll go through more detail about this stuff, but it's really cool. And all of this stuff, you can go online for most of it, depending where your county is, or even go to the courthouse yourself. So what's a probate? Does anybody know what a probate is? Who can tell me? Not all at once.
Somebody's estate.
Is what?
Somebody's estate
Someone's estate. So what does that mean?
means that somebody is deceased.
Someone passed away, right? So the deceased, they passed away. What happens when someone dies? For the property, I should say. They maybe go to heaven or hell, maybe. What was that? They might. So probate is the process, the legal process where, so if my uncle passed away, he's dead, but all of his assets are still in his name. So in order for me or the other heirs to sell those assets or to change title, we have to go through the court process, which is called probate, to change those assets into the other person's, the heir's name. So it can take anywhere from, a couple of weeks to several years. And most of the holdup is when you have Aunt Joe thinks that she deserves more than everybody else. And you always get, with family, it's always, when I deal with probate cases, it's like, I need all decision makers together. Because I can talk to one person of the heirs, and they're like totally bored, like it makes perfect sense. You always have that one Aunt Joe or Uncle or Aunt Sue. Aunt Joe? What is it? Maybe it's, nowadays, I could be right. Anyways, but yeah, there's always gonna be some, like, there's always gonna be some person trying to fight and scream and right. So I like probates when there's the least errors as possible. Anyways, but so it could take anywhere from a couple weeks to several years. It really depends what's kind of going on. I've helped people from the very start and finish the whole way through. And when you are looking at probates, you want to look for the petitioner. That's who you want to contact. That's the person that's asking. And typically, the petitioner is the person that's going to be over the estate. That's going to have the final say as far as what kind of goes on with the assets, and they have to talk to the family. They may have some agreements within it, but the petitioner is the person you want to talk to very first. Okay? And you can go to the courthouse yourself. And in fact, so the person I learned this from, he has a really cool saying. He says, the deal of the decade can happen once a week if you know where to look. And so he talked a lot about probates and some opportunities there. So me, brand new, just got off work at Walmart, and I was like, I watched the class, like, I can do this, absolutely. And so I was really, really nervous, because I didn't do any deals yet. This is my first kind of like go at it, taking some action. And so, okay, I'll just do what he says. I'm just going to go to the courthouse. So I went to the courthouse, I went to this building, and I walked in, and I didn't know where anything is. I couldn't remember the word probate, by the way. I should have wrote it down. But I couldn't even think of the word probate. And the lady at the counter, she was deaf, so that was like even funner to try to explain. I'm trying to find dead people. Like it was not, it didn't like this, the morgue's that way, buddy. But so I finally, after like 20 minutes of like talking to 20 other people, like, oh dude, you're in the wrong building. The courthouse is down the street. So I went to the wrong building, then I finally got the right building, and I was already kind of like beat up, because I'm not going to give up, but I still kind of like stress over this. And the lady behind the counter took mercy on me. She's like, here, sit down, old man, just sit there. And like she showed me on the computer where I can kind of look up the cases and do printouts. I was able to look up probates for like every county, just like, I live in Twilla. I was able to look at like all the probates from every county. And it was really awesome. So it's a phenomenal way to help people get out of tough situations. Because a lot of times with probates, when my grandma passed away, the house is not in bad condition, but it's definitely out of date, right? And sometimes you get hoarders too, which is the thing. But even if like my grandma was out of date, so in order to get top value, they would have to they would have to kind of remodel everything. They would have to put the new roof on, replace everything. And so a lot of times the heirs just don't want to deal with that. And if you do get a lot of like those hoarder situations where the property is like in distress, a lot of agents don't even want to touch it. because it won't even qualify for financing. So like, this has to be an investor special, I don't wanna deal with that, because that's not their jam, and that's fine. But so you're giving these people an opportunity, like, hey, listen, you don't want this headache, you gotta deal with this, you wanna get the money as fast as humanly possible, because you wanna pay off your debts, your whatever you got, let me just buy the house from you, give me 10, we did the probate thing, now in 10 days, you're gonna have the money, and we're good to go. Okay, great, awesome, so it's giving people opportunities of how to just fix their challenge. So probate's a great way to go. Evictions are so much fun. Okay, why would I try to buy a house from evictions? They're renting it, they're not, there's nothing for sale there. Why do you guys think I'd want to look for evictions for finding off my deals?
Because there was people that want to be investors but don't want to educate themselves, so they start getting properties and rental, and they realize there's challenges with tenants, and they're tired of it.
Wait. So you're saying they need to have more information than just watching a YouTube video?
Right.
No, it can't be right. Can't be right.
TikTok.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, 30-second videos enough for me to learn how to do it. That's not right. So with rentals, I don't know who's had rentals, who had to evict someone before. So you had rentals before. If you can imagine, if you heard stories, when you have to evict someone, do you think they're gonna leave the property in a great spot? No. I got, like, back there.
Quick example, a friend of mine had some rentals out in Detroit. He had to evict them, and as they left, they poured dry concrete down the water pipes and sewer system.
You what?
I can fix that.
You gonna fix that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
just
just
replace all the pipes, right?
About 40 grand later.
Well, I mean, you can, sure, and he could sue them, but if they can't pay the rent, are they gonna be able to pay for the lawsuit? You're just trying to squeeze water out of a dry sponge.
Also depends on if they were paying willingly, like not paying willingly.
I did have a gun, so maybe not so little. That was good.
It also depends on if they were not paying willingly and had the money in their account and they're just like,
Oh,
I don't need.
sure, if they have the money to, yeah, sure, then you go there, sure, but usually it's not,
Yeah.
not from my experience at least. So these landlords are in a state of flux. So they have a couple of choices here. They can either fix it up, so spend that much money to fix it up. That's, wait for that time, just like I pay for the mortgage payment. And then pray to Heavenly Father that they can find another tenant that doesn't just do the same thing in 3 months down the road. So that's one option. Another option is to sell it. But they want to sell for top dollar, so they still have to fix it up, still have to put all the money in, and then try to sell it, then stress, and then worry about paying the taxes once they do sell it too. Or a third option would be someone like me comes along like, hey, like how are things going with that eviction notice? Or with that eviction? And like, oh, it's terrible, this guy did. He put cement down my pipes, you know, he wrecked my fireplace, whatever, destroyed everything. And so I like to ask landlords, and I look at landlords that are evicting in their personal name, not an actual LLC or company. Because those are the guys who usually like, they watch the YouTube video, they read half a Robert Kiyosaki book, you know, and they're like, I got this, no worries. So those are guys that are more likely I can help remove or help them with this headache that they're having, right? So I'll talk to them about their pain points, like what was it like, man? How much is it gonna cost you to actually fix this up? I'm just curious. And so he's saying the numbers. Oh well, geez, I gotta take like a week off of work because I'm gonna do it myself, and then I'm gonna have to put in $30,000. Like, oh wow, $30,000. How long is it gonna take you? Like probably 3 months. So 3 months. So you're losing 3 months in rent, aren't you? Well, yeah. Well, how's it taking to find another tenant once it's ready? Well, maybe 2 more months. So 5 months lost of rent. You're still gonna pay the mortgage, right? Well, yeah. And so I'll have a conversation with them. Like, what would you like to, hang on to your cash flow and not worry about the tenants or fixing anything up? Well, yeah. Okay, let me buy the property in payments, and you're still gonna get money on a monthly basis. You don't have to worry about fixing it up. I'll take care of that. So even getting seller financing from tired landlords, I bought multiple properties from one tired landlord because he's like, Jared, this fourplex is a disaster, and I don't want to deal with this other one too. So take this. You can find a whole portfolio just from evictions because they're challenges, they're problems you can find. That's awesome to help people. Let's phrase that. Okay, the rest tax liens. divorces. I'm not gonna go too much into tax liens, because I honestly have not bought a property in tax liens, but it's definitely a way to go, right? You go to the courthouse, you can actually find out where the tax liens are. And the cool thing about tax liens are, when you're paying your mortgage, what is usually included in your mortgage payment? Because you're not just paying your loan, what else are you paying? Your mortgage premium, so your taxes, and also like the insurance, right? So if someone has a tax lien, usually, and it hasn't been foreclosed on already, because a foreclosure will happen faster in tax lien, especially in Utah. You have to not pay taxes like 6 years before they even put a tax lien in your property. So a tax lien was like, it's usually free and clear. So they have a lot of negotiations as far as where they can sell it at. And there's no mortgage on it, so they can do a seller financing without having to worry about anything else. Okay? Divorces, I love divorces. I hope I never get one. My wife's, I'm over 18. That's
Jared, we're getting divorced. Love it.
Really? How's the property going right now? I'm so sorry for your loss. Can you sign this paper real fast? So divorces are, okay, so I make light a lot of things, but it is a serious thing, right? But divorces, there's something I call, it's called spite money. So spite money is, and this is an average divorce, like they have a property, for the most part, it's like, okay, you get half of the equity and you get the other half of the equity, right? That's kind of, on average, there's always different cases, but on average. But I have seen people where it's like, I don't like him, and she doesn't like, they hate each other now. They want to get out as soon as possible. And it's like, I just want to sell it for my mortgage price, because I don't want her for any money. I don't want her to pay a dime. And like, I don't want him to have money because he's sleeping with X, Y, and Z. They'll tell you the story too. They'll tell you every detail. They'll learn every detail.
Those are the juiciest ones.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I thought catching people, never mind. I was gonna say lower times, but no. I'm not juicy bars. Anyways, so divorces are great to help people get out of tough situations. Like, especially if they're like living in the same house, or like one's like living on a sofa somewhere else, they need to get equity out as fast as possible. Even if it's not like dramatically, they're really, okay, let's get this. If you can buy the house in 10 days, let's do it. Like, that's phenomenal. Even if it's not great, like, as much as they want, whatever, like, it's worth, people will sacrifice equity for peace of mind. Happily. Like, when you're going through foreclosure, you're going through a divorce, you're getting those phone calls from the collections, you're getting the wife nonstop, you're like, I will, any price, get me out of here right now. And so we can provide that, we can help them, 100%, it's amazing. So those are the default foreclosures. So foreclosures are going up, right? People are losing their homes, we're losing their jobs, when in a great economy, now they're still happening, it's only going to happen more now that we're not as great as economy. You don't got to know words make money, people, it's fine. Did I give you a little hope, Liz? I gave you some hope. I love notice of defaults. You're definitely able to stop foreclosures, right? Buy the property. Because right now, if you don't do anything, they're going to lose their house. They're going to have a foreclosure on their record, on their credit report, and they lost 100% of the equity. A lot of times they don't have time to find an agent and put it on the market and wait a month for it to get an offer, another 45 days for it to actually close, and if it does close, like that's not an option for them. So like, yeah, let's save this situation. Meth condemned properties. Meth's a great way to make money, people. So, you can quote me on that. In real estate, I should say. So it's just in the health department website. Utah's great, guys. I'm telling you, the information's there. So if you just go to the Utah, the health website, you can pull up and you can download an Excel sheet of every condemned property in that county.
I have one that's close to me.
What was that?
I have one that's close to me.
Really?
And I believe it's still.
Does it have like a note on it, or is it like the papers? How do you know it's condemned?
It has a note on it, and it has tape all around it, making sure no one can go in.
We should talk about addresses. What I'm going to share here, you're like, oh, okay, Jared, we're talking. Absolutely. So meth's a great way to make, because here's the thing. When a property is actually condemned with meth, it's not livable. So it is, at that point, illegal for anyone to actually live there or go in there. And in order for them to sell it, they have to get off that list, and get off the list is the biggest pain in the butt in the world. Once you're on that list, it is hard to get off. I see people that's on it for years, because it shows the date when it was actually placed on there. So it is a nightmare for these people. And here's the cool thing, you can find these people that just want to get rid of it, like get rid of this headache as fast as possible, yes. Once you mitigate the meth, so there's companies that'll come in and actually clean everything out, and so there's no meth in it. So you're not getting sick, they test it, there's no way for you to get sick because there's no meth remnants. When you sell it, you don't have to disclose that it was a meth house, as long as it passes. That's the biggest thing.
But there's
Right.
always traces, right?
What was that?
There's always traces when the test is around.
Yeah, well, there's gonna be, I mean, you can almost have traces of anything, like even like this wall, you know what I mean? But there's a certain point where it passes, right? So there can be some sort of traces on there, but it has to be a certain point. Like I bought houses in Ogden where like they were cooking meth in it, and like you could have licked the walls and got high. It was like, just like, so I was always in there for some reason. It was just,
That explains a lot.
that explains a lot of, yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a great way to help people, okay? Any questions so far? Nothing?
I do have a question, maybe
Yes.
you explained this before I walked in, but, when you're talking about the 10-day close, is that because you're foregoing like your due diligence period? Is
I'm
that-
not foregoing that, no.
No.
No, that, I try to have my due diligence, and like the day before I close is when I have my due diligence. I have contracts now, because I'm not an agent anymore, so I can use my own contracts and my lawyers right up, that the due diligence, I can close off of that clause for due diligence a second before we go into closing. So due diligence means, it's basically like you have time to do due diligence, so you can cancel a contract if you need to without losing your earnest money. So if you do something, as you're looking through properties or whatever, and you find a property is condemned and the numbers didn't make sense, they don't want to renegotiate, like, okay, you know, I'm still in my due diligence period, I'm gonna exit and still get my money back, so I don't lose anything. Right, so that's what she's talking about due diligence for those that work, like, what are you guys talking about? Okay, any other questions? That's a great question, by the way. Okay, bandit signs. Has anybody seen signs like this? Yeah?
Not that nice.
They might have been mine. What was that?
Not that nice.
Not that nice. Oh, by the way, if you ever do these, I recommend using a marker. You get more calls. I'm not even kidding, you will. Because you'll notice it. Right? You will see it. Because you'll see like actually fancy ones and printed ones everywhere if they're advertising their business or whatever. Right? So it just kind of goes white. But if I see like a handwritten sign, then it's like, oh, what is that? You know? So they're effective, they work. I know it's like, they work, absolutely. Sorry, those my friends. What's up, buddy? They work as long as you do it. And by the way, if you guys put out 2 bandit signs, and then you call me up next week and like, Jared, you're a liar. Had it up there for a whole week. There's 2 of them, and no one called me. Okay, like, okay, well you need like, there's 2 zeros behind that 2 number, and then you'll have some success with it. So it needs to be, quantities is always great, right? You also want to make sure that you're not breaking the law when you're doing this, because there are a lot of cities that frown upon bandit signs. You can call the city, you can look at their, some have websites where you can look up stuff. It's just about a lot of times they'll even call it bandit signs, or lawn signs, something like that. They have ordinances on those, so you can see what the fees are, what, you know, where you can or cannot. Some cities are they don't care. Some cities you can do it in this streets, on this days, or whatever, then that's fine, they have no issues. So you wanna make sure you're not breaking the law. Now, I know a guy, I'm not saying who, but I know a guy that would put them out on Friday, and then collect them on Sunday morning, or Sunday evening, because I know the city people, they don't work the weekends. I know someone did that, I don't know who, but I know someone. I'm not saying that we should do that.
But that's sports bar.
Yeah, and also for me, like if I get fined $500, but I make like 10,000, like okay, that's fine. But again, I just know someone did that, I don't know, I'm not telling you guys to do that. Okay, location actually matters, like, you want to put it in places where people are stopping, and you don't want to put it in people's yards. That's kind of, you know, you want to put it like, try as public as possible, whether it's like a storefront, something like that, where you can get, where it's going to be okay, you're not putting it in someone's front yard, right? Unless you wanna buy it, that's kinda fun. Well, one of our searches, he talked about putting, we buy houses signs, when you couldn't get a hold of some people, like they had a distressed property, so you put it right in front. And they would call him like, hey, you got this sign in my yard. I was like, oh dude, I'm so sorry, I hired some guys to get out there, and they must have put the wrong address, I'm sorry. Oh, by the way, since I have you ever thought about selling? Anyways, so location matters. Put it into places where people, as they're stopping, like stoplights, stop signs, you know,
Signs.
anywhere that they're gonna stop and actually read it, that's a great spot to put it. As much traffic as humanly possible. And I would also recommend to put it in places where I'll put it in places where, I like to travel consistently. So if I'm putting it in like my hometown Twilla, I'll put it in past where I normally travel, so I can kind of check up on it, if I can replace the sign, or it's on the ground, I can pick it up, or whatever it is, right? So I can kind of follow up on that too. Also be safe. Be safe, because if you're out there with a sign and you're trying to, put stuff in the middle of the street or whatever, it's dangerous, so be safe. Go with buddy system. I would go at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not saying anyone else should do that, I'm saying that's what I did, because there was less cars driving around and less people say, what are you doing? Oh man, I got nothing.
Go at 2
Or
AM.
not. What was that?
Go at 2 AM, that's even better.
I could go at 2 AM, sure, yeah, absolutely. I think any of those times would be fine, absolutely. And be patient. So this is advertising. So a lot of people, just take any action, they're gonna see something at least 7 to 9 or more times. So they're gonna drive by that sign, the first sign, the first thought's gonna be what? Scam.
They're not even thinking about it.
Yeah, they're gonna, yeah, whatever. Even if they're about to go through foreclosure, or like they need to move, like I'm getting a promotion soon, I need to get something else quickly, or whatever it is, they're not even like, maybe not think about it, saying that, oh, it's a scam, I don't want it, nah, I'm not gonna do that. And they're like, well, that's been here for a minute. They get kind of curious, and eventually, all right, I actually do need this. I want to see what, I'm curious, I want to see what they can offer me, so they even call. So if you don't get calls right away, and you're putting like the double zeros, like I said, you gotta be patient with it. You gotta make sure that they're up. Any questions about bad signs in general? Yeah.
Not a question, but a comment too, that's true, like, I drive and I see a sign, and I'm going so fast, but I wanna do something with
Yeah.
it. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, next time I pass by, I'm gonna do it, and I pass again, oh my gosh, and then until I actually have a task to what's exactly and just destroy it. I'm just kidding.
So you're a guy.
So what is Jared pretty excited?
Yeah.
What about putting a sign up in one of the houses you're getting ready to sell?
Yeah, you can do that too. I put it just, because it's your property.
I'm talking about just like in the front window.
You can do all that.
Big
Yeah.
enough.
100%. Biggest sign, we buy houses like this. You can be very creative, absolutely,
Put it
100%.
all over the house.
Okay. Leverage your warm market. What's a warm market for real estate? What does that mean when I say warm market? People you know, right? People. So can I tell you guys a story real fast?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm glad so I'm gonna tell Mike the story, and you said yes too. So I'm gonna tell these guys. What's your name? I'm sorry. Diana. I'm telling Mike and Diana the story. You guys can just okay. All right. So when I first started, I was only a couple of years into real estate investing. Where I lived, my parents, they're still in the same house. It's like 50 plus years. And so we grew up in this house, in this neighborhood. Everyone knew me. They knew the houses that I TP'd and everything. The hell I was. But what I found out later is that this family that I was actually best friends with their oldest son, the family, they sold their house to an investor. And when I found out how much they would have sold it for, I remember my numbers, I would have gave them like $40,000 more than what this other investor gave them. Now, is that their fault or is it my fault?
It's your fault.
Why is it my fault?
Because you didn't go look it up. You didn't inquire on it. You didn't keep in contact.
I didn't keep it. So, as you start, if someone doesn't know you're in real estate, it's your fault. You'll be shocked as many people, because here's the thing, like her family knows him well. Kevin, the family know you well. Your friends know you well. You know you're not a scoundrel. You're not, maybe you are, but it's still like you, right? You're not, shady or whatever. And so there's that instant trust with them, right? So if me and Tony have been friends for years, and I need to sell my house quickly because for X, Y, and Z, if I know he's in real estate, I'm gonna call Tony, like, dude, can you help me out? What do you think you can do for me? what direction you put me out. I've gotten plenty of phone calls where it's like, hey Jared, can you buy my house? People that you guys know too, by the way. Like, hey Jared, I'm not gonna say who, but hey Jared, come buy my house. Like, yeah, sure, let's see, let's run the numbers, see if it makes sense for you, great, if not, yeah.
I even have people on social media sending me messages, hey, I have this house for sale, or this deal, do you want it? And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, you came to me first, you know?
Right. It's like, or someone knows where a condemned meth house is, they're coming to this guy, right? Because they're like, okay, let's make some money together, right? It's important to let everyone know, social media is a great way to do it, okay? If you guys ever follow me on social media, like every other second is about real estate. But establish your platform, so whether you're on a podcast, YouTube channel, that's kind of more further down the line, but showcase your successes. Like if you're going to social media, let's say you're just starting out and you haven't done any deals yet, but you went out with Manuel and he showed you some properties, you can do a post, do a social media view or live of like, hey, I'm just looking at this property, this is really cool. Hopefully we make something work with this, right? You're being honest and truthful, but you're just showing people what you're doing, and people naturally be intrigued. They're like, oh, well, actually I know someone that might want to sell their house, right? So you can showcase your stuff on social media. You know, another thing I'd love to do as you start getting successes, every time I close on a deal, I ask the seller, like, would you be okay if you did a 30-second testimonial video with me? And so I'll just get like a selfie mode, and he'll tell their experiences, kind of what's going on, depending on their comfort level, and they'll just say like what's going on. And the cool part, once you get enough of those, when I'm talking to her, and like he's going through foreclosure, I can pull my foreclosure list, like, look, this guy just like you went through the same thing, and I helped him. You know, that it's instant credibility and again, that comes with time. But like, think ahead down the line when you're first starting out. Like, the first person I talk to, what do they, and people tell me no, and I don't feel comfortable. Okay, no worries. But a lot of people tell me yes. So I have a huge Rolodex of people of the successes of how we helped each other, or how I helped them. Right? Provide value always, right? So if you're going through social media groups, you're anything you know, you're helping other people out, right? And then they're like, okay, yeah, let's do a deal together. That's definitely something to do. And offer generous binder fees for deals that you can close on, referrals. So if you're an agent, you have to go a little bit careful on this. But for example, like if I'm going to make $10,000, in order to make that $10,000, I had to pay 2 or 3. How many times would I do that? Infinity times. If me paying $2,000 or $3,000 would make me 10, I would do that infinity times. So if someone brought me a deal and we closed on it, I make 10, or if I did a flip, maybe I made 60, and I give them 3, 5, or whatever it is, money well spent. I do that infinite times. So you want to be generous. Like, hey, I'm offering $500 referral fee. Okay, that's nice. But when you start talking like, oh, dude, if you find me a deal, I'll pay you $2,000. That's going to turn some heads. I'll pay you $5,000. Whatever you're looking, depending on your strategy, right? Another great way. Any other questions we talked about? Sorry, before I don't move on. About anything we talked about before, or anything? Nope. Okay. All right. So what's a wholesaler, guys? Who can tell me what a wholesaler is? Yes.
You can put it into, you can make it go in contract, and then with that contract, you can put it out on the market for somebody else to pay so much more than what you bought for it, and then you close that contract and you sell it, then you do get money from it.
So yes and no, because you're not actually putting it on the market, because then you'd be like an agent, right? So there's a lot of laws to follow to wholesale something legally. So basically, if Mike is looking to sell his property, we get under contract. So as of right now, only my company is able to buy Mike's house. Luis over here, he's looking for a flip. I'm like, dude, you looking for a flip? Awesome. I have this contract for Mike over here. I'll sell you my rights to the contract for $10,000. Does that sound? Okay, cool, awesome. I made $10,000. Mike's happy because he sold his house. The price he agreed to is good to go. The time frame. And Luis is great because then he was able to buy his flip or buy the rental, whatever strategy he's looking for. And so it's kind of phenomenal. So as a wholesaler, I'm in and out, done, I don't have to raise any money, nothing like that. You can get connected with a network of wholesalers. So remember that time, like the time and money scale? It doesn't cost anything to get being put on a bunch of wholesalers lists, right? Now there are lots of, like to find wholesalers, I like to call bandit sites if I'm trying to get on a wholesaler's list. Like if someone has we buy houses, that's someone that's not just seen a YouTube video, they're actually out there they're taking action. So I'm gonna call that guy or that gal, and like, hey, I'm not actually looking to sell, but I would love to be on your list. Are you a wholesaler? Well, yes, I am. 90% of them will be. Great. So on the list, every time they get a deal, your email will get a notification, right? Social media. Join any real estate group and say, hey, I want to be on your list. Where's my wholesalers at? They'll get like 20. Local meetups, so places like this, when you're networking or meeting, like, oh, you're a wholesaler? Cool, awesome, Travis, can you put me on your list? Bam, okay? You trust but verify. I need you guys to understand this and really, like, if you learn one thing, this is what I want you to learn today. Never, ever trust the wholesaler's numbers. Even if it's mine. Never. So why do I say that? One, my numbers, me as a wholesaler, my numbers may not be the same as Luis's. Right? Andres, his contract may charge him more than mine or vice versa, whatever. So even if I'm not intentionally trying to mislead him by any means, my numbers are going to be different than his. And here's the thing, wholesaling is, especially on YouTube, on TikTok, it's preached as, and it really is a great way to start. Because you don't have to raise money, you don't have to, you don't have to deal with contractors, you just need to find a seller, then you can sign the contract out. So you get a lot of people that really they watch 3 YouTube videos, and they really don't know exactly what it takes to do the flip, or to actually do the rental, or whatever strategy you're trying to do. So they're going to give you some kind of really rough numbers. I've seen wholesalers where like, rehab, 10 grand, and it's like a tear down. It's like, yeah, okay, 10 grand. Or 50,000, and it needs to be like $200,000 for rehab. You know what I mean? So it's okay, like they're gonna give you the numbers, just don't trust them. Because I've seen people who are like, oh man, well the wholesaler said make this. Well yeah, whether it's intentional or not, yeah.
I actually did a wholesale a couple months ago, and the guy I sold it to, I gave him my numbers. I'm like, this is estimate, do your own thing. He's like, no, I trust you, you can do it. And I'm like, no, you trust me, know me. So I'm trying to like train the guy, so just in case there's another wholesale trying to sell him something, he's kind of protected with his own number. So it's like, don't trust me anyways, even if I do that.
Yeah, don't trust mine.
Yeah, don't trust me anyways.
No, you can, like if Mike's gonna sell me a house, I'm gonna trust him, but I definitely make sure that it's right. Right? Because if you're looking at my deals, like, dude, Jared's doing some lower math here, it doesn't make sense. You know? You can negotiate with wholesalers by all means. Right? So if someone's trying to wholesale a deal, and it's just like, it's not gonna make sense for you, like, you know what, at the current price, where your starting bidding price doesn't make any sense for me. If you get it down to this, I would love to pick it up. So depending, and right now they're more willing to negotiate than they were 8 months ago to a year ago. Because a year ago, people were buying deals from wholesalers and on the market, where I had flippers, they were like, yeah, we're just gonna, if the market doesn't change, we're just gonna break even or lose money, so we're banking on the appreciation. So there was a ton of that going on. It doesn't happen much anymore, I wonder why. People started losing money and they stopped doing that. But you can definitely negotiate. You know, say this is where I'm actually at, where can we go, right? Non-refundable deposit, a lot of wholesalers were like, so we talked about like, it's gonna come back around. Right, the law of reciprocity, what's the word? Reciprocity, yeah. You don't need smart money anymore, we're good. But yeah, so getting with professionals and be top of mind, you know, so you're not just having that one conversation and that's the end of it. Like you're giving them referrals, you're giving them value, you're calling them, right? So next time an opportunity happens, they're gonna think of you first. Any questions with like just building networks with people? Nothing? Yes.
Just a comment on that, like, you always have to have the mentality of helping others and not expecting things in return. And you do that, you're gonna make friends quick and trust quick. Just find a few people, attorneys, bankruptcy, whatever, and send them people. Hey, I heard about this is a great person, a great attorney.
And as they're seeing that, I keep sending my attorneys, hey, this person wants to get a business, there you go, an LLC. And he's grateful for it, and they help you back.
Exactly.
Automatically, they think about you. Yeah.
Right, if you're given a business, they're naturally gonna throw business in your way too. So it's phenomenal. For sale by owner, what is for sale by owner?
What to use an agent?
They don't wanna use an agent, they don't wanna use manual, or they don't use, nothing, they don't wanna use any agents. They wanna sell it. So let me give you, okay, let's pretend, okay, so you guys know where the Great Wall of China is, right? So if the for sale by owner is in the Great Wall of China, reality is closer to here, okay? I would say most of my interaction with for sale by owners, they literally think their house is made of gold. And it's funny, it's hilarious. So, and I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but this is just my personal experience. I had a guy, like his house, just to give you an example, to cope things, and I'll tell you how to work around this. But I had a guy, and he was a nice guy enough, he just didn't understand how the values work, and even after educating, he didn't quite get it. But his house, like where he was sleeping, there was mold everywhere, like it should be condemned, it was bad. But where he was sleeping, there was an entire hole, there was no ceiling. It was just there in the air, and that was it. And that was like, I went in that was his bed in the hole, like, okay, he's gonna get nice fresh air every night. And he wanted his house, he thought his house was worth, I gave him an offer, it was like 150, this is a couple of years ago. It was in Twilla, so I was like, 150 is the most I could possibly do, I need to put in another 150 just to repair it. And he's like, well, I saw this house down the road, and it's a mansion that's like 10 times bigger than his house. But it sold for like $800,000. I think this house can sell for $800,000.
They expect that, I'm kidding.
And they're like desperate, like, okay. And you don't know, you don't know. Okay, so I'm saying it making jokes, but you don't know, you don't know. So for me, for sale by owners, I like to get people when they first list it, because there's a lot of sale by owners that actually understand what the value of the home is. They have time. They don't want to pay an agent, maybe they have a fair enough understanding that they're willing to sell, the price, they can sell it at a decent price. So I like to find people they just list it, they just put it for sale by owner, and people that have been trying to sell their property for like 8 months. Because now like reality's kind of smacking them in the face, and especially if there's a time frame coming up, like they need like a new job, or the wives always say they want to. My wife's always saying they want to move or whatever. So now kind of reality's kind of sunk in, like their house isn't worth $800,000, it's actually worth $200,000 or $150,000. So, right at the beginning, or really old ones, it's great. And you can find for sale by owners, Craigslist, Redfin, Zillow, Mojo. Mojo is like a dialing, it's another website you can use. Driving around, looking for, did I do it again? Is it the TV? Okay, it's the TV. Okay. So, absolutely, it's a great way to get some leads. Any questions about for sale by owners? Advertising is a great way to do this. So this is my ad I did, but we don't need I'm not going to suffer you guys through. You guys want to watch an ad I did or no? Let's be honest. Let's But this is, so an ad doesn't have to cost you a fortune. So the ad, I spent probably $10,000 to get like 6 really good ads that I would put out there in Facebook and other formats. But there's a lot of ways you can do it without having to spend $1 million on ads. Like there was one point in time I was spending $10,000 a month just on ad spend. But I was making a lot more back, so it was okay. So Facebook groups are a phenomenal way of doing it. You just go to your Facebook, even if you have 100 friends, doesn't matter. And you go into any type of not Craigslist. Oh my gosh. Any marketplace. You can go in there where you can actually post things for sale or whatever it may be. You can do like the Connect Utah Facebook group. You can just do any type of group, Facebook group. And you can make posts. You can make your own little font of like, hey, I buy houses, give me a call. Right? You can do that stuff. And it's going to get in front of like 100,000 people, and it's for free. So you can talk to the admin of the group, like, hey, listen, this is what I want to do. I'm a real estate investor, I want to help people get out of tough situations. is it okay if I put this post once a week? Is that cool? And yeah, no, we don't allow that. Okay, cool. You know, because then you get blocked and, you know, but if you have admin on your site already, that's great. Leverage your own network. So if I have Mike over here that has 100,000 followers, I'm like, dude, tell people I buy houses, man. And you never did, by the way, I'm just saying.
No,
But, you know, so you leverage people you know that has good networks, right? Or someone that knows a lot of people. Like, hey, if you ever hear anyone, if they're in the industry, so if someone's working at Walmart, for example, and they're like the door greeter, they're talking to people all the time. It's like, hey, if you run across anyone that's looking to sell, make sure to get my number, right? And using other people's, so another technique I like a lot is the remora fish. You guys know what a remora fish is?
The ones by the sharks or
Yes.
the big fishes cleaning and
Yes.
eating from their food.
You guys ever seen those big sharks, right? And there's always this tiny little fish floating around them. The shark, the big white shark is not eating those fish because the little fish are kind of helping them out. So they're helping the big fish to get protection, right? So you can use these techniques is to use a larger audience that's not yours, but by providing value and having those conversations, like we said before. If I have a friend that has a lot of followers, okay, dude, help me out. I learned this technique from our instructors, and after I watched that one class, I got on 10 podcasts in 14 days. And so they haven't been even posted yet, so I'm waiting for the landfall for that to happen, which is I'm really excited for. But anyway, so provide value to other people, and you can get a lot of stuff back. That's the whole thing of this. Okay, any questions so far? This is one of my ads I did. It was just like, it was a Spanish group, I speak Spanish, but it's like, or house for cash. That's it. You like that one? Right? And that's it. I put in there, you know, I'll buy anything, message me, find out. It doesn't have to be fancy. Good enough is guess what, guys? Is good enough. That's it. You know, hey, foreclosure behind a payment. At the time I was an agent, so that's what I had to do. But I mean, payments, give me a call. Let's help you, whatever it is, right? Let's do it in like every single group possible. Now time about my favorite. Any questions about using ads for free? Basically, any other comments, groups? No, well, you're stretching. Okay. Okay. Now you talked about what did you talk about? Like there was houses that you saw, and it was like vacant. You're like, I wish I would have talked to the owner because I could have bought it, right? Found who owned it, and then what? Then you can find out who it is, right?
Yeah.
So this is one of my favorite ways to find deals. It's called driving for dollars. Okay, there's many different. It's farming. There's like a gazillion different names. I like driving for dollars because it has the word dollars in it, so I like it. So I look for properties that look like this. These are my favorite. So boarded up houses, broken windows, long grass. It's so looking for long grass. You're looking for properties that are like. What I really love is like even on trash day, I'll drive down houses and you see the one house that doesn't have their trash out, and it's like either like someone like me just forgets, or the house is like vacant. So these are people that are like the house is vacant, it's distressed. You leave the house alone, even if it was good at one time, it's just naturally going to start to decay, right? And I'll tell you what, like when I'm looking at this stuff up, I'll just Google the owner of the name. I'll find out like their dentist, their investors that didn't really do it. They lawyers. They know they wanted to park the money, but they didn't have the time or resources to actually do anything with it. So a lot of them are people that make a lot of money, but they have this distressed property, or people that their parents died and they didn't know what to do with it because the agents wouldn't touch it because it's in bad array. So it's a proven method. It's finding motivated sellers, and you can outsource it too. You don't have to do it yourself. So I was, again, I'm telling you something, maybe I'm not going to recommend it, but I'm telling you what I did. So I was the youngest president in our ward for a couple of years, and when I was wholesaling really hard, I had my young men, they were driving around with the bikes looking for distressed properties. And if they found a property, I'd pay them like $500 or $1,000. And but we were looking for, service properties to help. But so you realize people, that's the say you do that right, guys. Be better than me, that's all I gotta say. But they were fine, they had fun.
You said the training too, they're used to knocking the doors.
Yeah, knocking doors, they're putting up signs, Brother French is really putting us to work, Dad, I don't know what's going on. Service, I'm teaching them something. And I'm not, I wasn't at college for very long. Anyways, but joking aside, right, it's usually we let people outside of yourself. Like, if you're on the scale where, like, I don't have a ton of time or a ton of money, but if I know someone that might be able to help, like, we'll talk about this here in another minute, like, even, like, talking to phenomenal people is, for example, like, the mail persons. They're on that route, they know what houses are getting mailed but nothing's showing up. They know when it's vacant. I talked to a mail guy, and I'll just go, not even, like, I'll just have a conversation with, like, hey man, I buy distressed properties, and anyone, if you give me a referral of an address, all I need is an address, give me the name, great, awesome. And if I buy the property, I'll pay you $3,000. And then 9 times out of 10, they'll get a piece of paper out, so right then and there, because they know the route, this address, this address, this address. Here's my number. Okay, cool, thanks man. Uber drivers. I'm going ahead of myself, but I love this subject. Uber drivers are phenomenal. Right, they're driving on Uber Eats, they're driving around, it's phenomenal. So those are the things we're all looking for, right? So we talked about the city violations too. That's big. So if you get so the meth condemned house, Trinity, it has the piece of paper in front of it, right? That's how you knew it was meth condemned, right?
Yeah.
So properties like that have the city violations on their door, right? That's a good tell. And you'll start to see things like this once you start looking for it. Because remember what I told you? That the bad news was that you driving here, you probably passed 3 or 4 deals. I was 100% serious about it. Yeah.
I've also heard, like, if you're kind of bored, you can kind of just get on Google Maps
Mm-hmm.
and just browse around your city. And a lot of times you can find some that way.
You can. A lot of times Google Maps aren't quite updated, right? But you can find distressed properties and you head there and start doing rehab. But it's something that, like, I mean, sitting on the toilet might as well do something, sure. It's better than TikTok.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. You can definitely do something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, have you ever used white pages before?
To find the numbers,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you, let me write this down. I'm going to give you better. Want to know a free way to find phone numbers?
Yeah.
FamilyTreeNow.com. It's a genealogy website. It'll give numbers, emails. So if it's a probate, you can actually find out who are the relatives of that person. It's a genealogy website, but it's great for us. I love it. FamilyTreeNow.com. Missing shingles, trash, we talked about that stuff. So those are great things we're looking for, right? And honestly, this method is a great way. There's no excuses as far as if you don't have a ton of time. Like, I don't have time to drive around. I don't know anyone. So, especially what I would do, like if I'm dropping the kids off from school, I would just leave 15 minutes early and just drive a different route that I would normally drive. And I'd just be looking for distressed properties, that's it. Then drop the kids off, then I come back and I drive a different route than I normally drive. And you'll get to the point where you're just driving, you're going to notice these. They are everywhere. Trust me, guys. They are everywhere. If you have not noticed it because you haven't been looking for it. You never had that experience when you buy a brand new car, and what happens when you brand new car? What do you notice? You start seeing the exact same car, the same color, the same model everywhere. It's the same thing with these houses. When you tell your brain it's important, it'll start noticing those things for you. Because if I buy a car, I'm telling my brain it's important. It's an organ. So it's going to start noticing those same things. That's why we notice it. When I buy the shirt, I'm going to notice that people are wearing the same shirt.
My girlfriend out driving, and then we're just driving, and I just look like that. I'm like, ooh. And she's like, what are you looking at? And I'm like, the house. Do you see that? Do you see
You don't look at the jogger? No, behind
No, you see the house? No windows or whatever.
Yeah, I got my wife. God bless her soul. But I'm trying to get to you. But so we were driving. We'd be late, and I would just like pull over because and we're late. She's like, "What are you doing?" I get the address. Hang on, and I just take pictures and get the address, and then we go on our merry way. But you can definitely see it. So there's honestly, if you have time to do it, and even if you you get off of work, it's like, hey honey, I get off at 4, from 4 to 4:30, I'm just gonna drive around. So I'm coming home late, right? I'm not seeing my Sancha. I'm just gonna go and drive for hours. okay? I'm glad there's like 3 of you. So we talked about leveraging other people, other resources, right? So finding the win-win is always important. When you're doing finder's fees of only when, so this is great. When I worked at Walmart and I had like $300 in my bank account, I was still offering like $5,000 to $2,000 if people would find me deals. Because I would only pay them if I got paid, and I get paid a lot more. Does that make sense? So you can offer massive finder fees. You can leverage like everyday context. We talked about this already because I got excited. But mailmen, Uber drivers, anyone that travels for the industry, phenomenal. If they're in the road, those are the people we want to talk to, right? What was that?
UPS drivers.
UPS drivers, 100%, absolutely. UPS drivers, Amazon drivers, right? Those are the people you want to reach out to. Use social media. Like nowadays, with inflation and everything going on, who do you know that's actually looking for like a side hustle or wanting more money? Is that everyone? So, well, is that everyone and their mom, right? They're all looking for a side hustle. So if you put a post out there like, hey guys, I got a thing where you can make it over $2,000 to $3,000, DM me for details. A lot of people will start reaching out to you, right? So they're just going to say, oh yeah, what do you do? Great, if you see distressed property, once I close, then I'll pay you the $2,000, right? Be creative, right? So anyone you can think of as far as like the Home Depot using your men's network, whatever it is, right? You're going to do whatever, if more creative, your own limitations yourself, that's it. Okay, mailman. Oh, this is phenomenal. Okay, so there are a couple ways of, I might blank for a second. There's 3 main ways to reach out to sellers. So once we've finally got a hold of a seller, there's 3 main ways to reach out to them. So it's either by cold calling, mailers, cold calling, or door knocking. So the most effective per lead is door knocking. Because if I'm knocking on someone's door that distressed or whatever, they're getting divorced, foreclosure, bankruptcy, whatever it may be, they're more likely to open the door because I'm knocking the door. And I see I'm a real person. I'm not just some guy on the internet that's trying to give them a call, and I can have that real connection with them, right? So it does take more time because I'm in the car, I'm driving the location, they may not even be there. So it does take more time, but it is more effective per lead. It just takes more time. And in fact, when I would door knock, I would bring my daughter with me, and especially in the wintertime, I would tell her act really cold, and so she would. She was great. She's a drama major, but she loves drama. She's phenomenal. But she get really cold, and he's like, oh, come on in, guys, get inside. Like, okay, sure, yes. And so, because what I find when I'm door knocking, when I'm talking to people on the doorstep, most of what they're telling me are lies. When I step through that doorstep, the truth starts coming out. I don't know why or what not, but I get it. Some weird guys knocking on the door. They're bringing their kid around. They're like, what is this? What's going on here, right? But I'm not saying you should bring your kids, by the way, but that's what I did because I was a guy knocking on a door. So females weren't comfortable answering the door. We're like, oh, it's a family guy. And so I'm not just an investor knocking the door. I'm like their neighbor knocking on the door, so they would answer me even more. So don't got kids? Like borrow someone else's. It's fine. With permission. Cold calling is great. Like you're making phone calls. It's personable. You can make a lot more phone calls, even if you have a dialer or not, than knocking on doors. But it's not quite as it's still very effective. It's not as effective as knocking on the door. Has everyone got those We Buy Houses mailers? Who's got those? You may have been some of mine, right? But guess what? Here's the thing. You get really annoyed. Oh, man, why do they keep getting these? It's so annoying. They work.
I just ignore them.
Yeah.
Unless I absolutely need it, I
Sure.
just ignore it.
But your neighbor's not. They have nothing to do in the house. They're like, let's call
They're
Jared.
my neighbors, down the street.
Okay, well, down the street. Yeah, you know what I mean? But that's the point, right? So sure, yeah, maybe you don't have zero interest in selling, but like someone else on the road's going to say yes, right? Do you guys have any questions so far what we talked about? Nothing? So let me ask you guys, what's stopping you guys from doing stuff like this? Like, once you find the deal, and even like, because we talked about a lot of pretty detailed, like how to find some deals, and there's more details even with each one of those nuances. But if you're gonna do a fix and flip or wholesale, what strategy you guys want to do? We talked about it a little bit before. Multifamily we talked about. What's stopping us from doing that now?
Motivation.
What was that?
Motivation.
Motivation, okay.
Getting told no.
Getting told no, so maybe fear.
Rejection.
What was that?
The rejection.
Rejection, yeah. I got rejected a lot in high school from every girl I ever talked to, so I was used to it by then. But yeah, I get what you're saying. So the fear of rejection is probably the mother of all fears, to be honest. So fear, okay. Someone said money fear. Was it money? Okay, finances.
Leveraging the money.
What was that?
Leveraging the money.
Leveraging
Like how
money.
to, yeah, borrow against the property you already have.
Oh, sure. There's a lot of ways of how to, if you want to like hold on to the property, if you're not just wholesaling, you want to flip it, you want to rental, whatever it is. You know, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you don't have it in your back pocket, if you don't know how to do it, yes, absolutely. What other challenges do we have? So
Time.
money. No. What do we talk about? The fear.
Time.
Time. Okay, absolutely. Because we're talking about the whole spectrum, right? As far as like money and time. Maybe I don't have money or the time to kind of find deals. But what are we talking about leveraging too? If I have a mailman going through and find me a deal, if I have Manuel over here as an agent throwing me pocket listings, and I'm at Walmart working, could that still work though, even with no time?
I'll pay you this if you're able to fund me this. So it's a compromise, right?
Leveraging. It's leveraging. It's value. It's what it is. So what is that? What else is stopping us? Is that it?
Just understanding the process a little bit better.
So the knowledge, right? Understanding the hows and what's. When I was working at Walmart, I had no idea about any of this stuff at all. You know, I'm still learning today. You know, I had no idea how to do this stuff. But the thing is, especially with fear, like when I drive up the first time I was driving up the freeway, I was terrified. Sweating bullets, you know, it was terrifying. But now I'm like doing it, eating a burrito, putting on my mascara, you know, it's just like nothing.
You look so pretty.
Wait, you guys don't wear mascara? What kind of mascara? So money, knowledge, support, help, right? And time. It's like I almost knew what you guys were going to say. It's crazy. It's like it's almost like an obstacle that most people have. Yes.
Can I add one to this that not a lot of people think about?
Yes.
Age.
H.
Age.
Age. Like, if
Oh.
you're younger, most people will go for older people because they think they're smarter, but there's a lot of old people in real estate that don't know how to do a lot as the younger people do.
So if you're younger, you think it might be a challenge.
It could be, yes.
So I know a guy. He's done. Well, he started when he was 16, right? What was his name?
Thomas.
Thomas. So Thomas started when he was 16. So he would buy all these properties under his mom's name, actually. So a 16-year-old would negotiate the contract, and as he was sitting in high school, he would get notifications from his realtor, and he would start analyzing deals in English class. And so by the time he graduated, Thomas, what did he do, like, was it 9 or 8 flips? What's the numbers? Who can tell me? How many flips did Thomas do before he even graduated?
I think
remember?
about 9 or 10.
9 or 10 before he even graduated. Do you think age stopped him at all?
Didn't stop him, but
Right.
who's to say it can't stop other people?
Well, here's the thing, if you know what you're talking about, people will give way. So if you had that knowledge, then if you knew what we were talking about, regardless of your age, like, okay, yeah, you know what you're talking about. Like these young guys over here, they come through, they know exactly what they're talking about. Okay, yeah, an older person, yeah, great, let's sign it, see what you know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Actually, Thomas right now went to see his flip in Ogden. He's got one for 1.2 something $million that they just finished now. You're like, wow, guy's 17 years old, doing this thing, this is crazy.
And he just graduated last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He just graduated last year, yeah. I wish I knew that. I wish I would learn this when I wasn't 35. So if you guys, if you want to learn how to do this stuff, we're doing more events this week. In fact, are we building for tomorrow? Should I ask? So Thursday night, what are you guys doing Thursday night? Does any of you guys get married? Let me phrase it. On Thursday night, who's getting married on Thursday? I'm not proposing, by the way. I'm trying to get 18 years, how many years? 18 years. So, Who's having a baby? Cody, you having a baby? No? Okay. So there's no excuse for not to be here on Thursday night. So Thursday night, Richard back there, he's gonna go over actually the process of how we help people learn step by step how to do this, and not just get educated, but how to implement what you're learning, and getting the support from the community, and actually learning how to do the stuff, not just learning and doing, not just watching it. Does that make sense? So how we can support you and how we can work together and make things happen. So get back to the person that invited you here and get a bite to have them register for coming to Thursday night. But yeah, okay, you want to come over? James, come back Thursday. Awesome, guys, great. So if there's no other questions, let's get out of here. All right? Feel free to network, continue to talk, and make sure you get with the person that invited you to put you here on Thursday. You almost have a time.
Yeah, but I'm thinking
Same
about.
with Nancy. Nancy, she's still.